There are legends who grow slowly, and then there are legends who explode the moment they touch a guitar. Stevie Ray Vaughan belonged to the second kind. His rise wasn't luck, and it wasn't timing. It was fire, a fire that burned in every note he played, in every stage he stepped on, and in every struggle he pushed through. This is the story of how a quiet kid from Dallas became one of the greatest guitarists in the history of American music. Stevie Ray Vaughan was born on October 3, 1954, in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas, Texas. Music wasn't a hobby in his home. It was the only language that made sense. His older brother, Jimmy Vaughan, was already known around town as a prodigy. And like most younger brothers, Stevie wanted to be just like him, maybe even better. When he picked up his first guitar at the age of 7, it wasn't a toy. It was destiny. From the beginning, Stevie didn't learn the way others did. He didn't sit with a book, and he didn't take lessons. He listened. He absorbed. He watched Jimmy's hands. He copied the sounds of Albert King, Muddy Waters, and B.B. King by ear. And before long, he started playing with the kind of emotion grown men spent decades trying to reach. Stevie didn't just play the blues. He lived inside them. By the time he was 12 years old, he was already performing in small Texas clubs, smoky rooms filled with grown musicians who were stunned that a child could play like that. He couldn't even legally stand at the bar, but he could make a room full of adults go silent with a single bend of a note. People didn't know what they were watching. They only knew it felt like the start of something huge, but talent alone doesn't build a legend. Hardship does too. Stevie's teenage years weren't easy. His father drank heavily and often turned violent. Home didn't feel safe, and music became a kind of escape, a sanctuary where he could breathe. The guitar, he once said, was the only thing that never hurt him back. At 17, Stevie made the bold decision to drop out of high school and pursue music full-time. It was risky. It was reckless. It was exactly the kind of decision future icons make. He joined one Texas band after another, sharpening his craft, building his stamina, and becoming known for something rare. He played the guitar like he was sprinting a marathon. Full energy, full emotion, every night. By the late 1970s, Stevie formed a group that would change everything, Double Trouble. With Chris Layton on drums and Tommy Shannon on bass, they weren't just a band, they were a force. 3 men who sounded like an army. Texas clubs couldn't contain their energy. The rooms were too small, the walls felt too close, and Stevie's guitar seemed ready to break through all of it. Word traveled fast. Rumors spread about a young guitarist in Austin who could play like he'd swallowed electricity. And then, in 1982, fate delivered its defining moment. Double Trouble was invited to perform at the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. No one knew what to expect. Montreux was polite, refined, the kind of place where blues rock wasn't exactly welcome, but Stevie didn't care. He stepped on that stage and unleashed everything inside him. Some of the crowd booed, not understanding what they were witnessing. But 2 people understood instantly, David Bowie and Jackson Browne. Bowie was so amazed that he hired Stevie to play guitar on his next album, Let's Dance. Jackson Browne offered him free studio time. The world had finally caught up to Stevie's talent. In 1983, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble released their first album, Texas Flood. The title wasn't a metaphor. It was a warning. The album hit like a storm. Pride and Joy, Love Struck Baby, Texas Flood, songs that didn't just revive the blues, they resurrected them. Anyone who thought the blues were fading quickly learned they were wrong. Stevie was here to stay. A year later came Couldn't Stand the Weather, an album that showed he wasn't a one-hit wonder. He was a phenomenon. His performances became legendary, sweat pouring down his face, fingers flying over the strings, guitar behind his back, over his head, even swinging by his side. But he never did it for show. Every move came from raw emotion, but rising this fast comes with a price. Fame brought exhaustion, and exhaustion brought temptation. Stevie began depending on drugs and alcohol just to survive the schedule. For a while, it looked like the music might consume him. But in 1986, after collapsing on tour in Germany, Stevie made a decision almost as powerful as his playing. He went to rehab, fought for his life, and won. His comeback was nothing short of miraculous. In 1989, he released In Step, a title that reflected his new clean life. The music was sharper, deeper, clearer. Stevie had always played with fire. Now he played with purpose, but fate, as it often does with legends, had its own plans. On August 27, 1990, after a concert in Wisconsin where he performed alongside Eric Clapton, Stevie boarded a helicopter in heavy fog. Moments later, it crashed. He was gone at just 35 years old. The world didn't lose a guitarist that day. It lost a once-in-a-century voice. A man who didn't speak through words, but through strings. A man who could make a guitar scream, cry, whisper, and pray. A man whose rise was meteoric, whose legacy is eternal. Stevie Ray Vaughan didn't just play the blues, he reignited them. He carried a tradition on his back and injected it with thunder. And though his life ended far too soon, his influence never will. Every guitarist who bends a note with too much soul. Every musician who leaves everything on the stage. Every fan who feels a shiver from a single solo, they all carry a piece of Stevie Ray Vaughan. This was the rise of a legend. The rise of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And if you want more stories about the icons who shaped music history, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives on Legend Uncovered.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.